Hello friends. I hope you don't mind some text-to-speech commentary in this video, as everyone in my house refuses to shut the fuck up for a few minutes while I record. But this also comes with the added benefit of this commentary sounding a lot more like the badass grapple-slinging motherfucker that this video is about. Speaking of which, if for some reason you can't read the title, this video is all about Pathfinder in Apex Legends. Personally, I think that Pathfinder is one of the best, most underrated, and most skill-based legends in the game. Sadly though, I rarely see him being picked by my teammates. But the silver lining is that I can play him almost every game, and I think that I've gotten pretty good with him. Some important notes before I begin. I play Apex Legends on console, and some of the ideas I discuss may not apply to PC. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, but I think I should point it out regardless. Next, this video will mostly focus on strategies and tactics with Pathfinder, and this video is not a guide on grapple slinging. For that type of video, I would recommend checking out Frothy Omen's Pathfinder guide. And lastly, I don't claim to be the best player out there, and I'm still learning how to use Pathfinder to his full potential. But this also helps to show that you don't need to be an FPS god in order to use this legend to an effective degree. Anyways, let's start by talking about the Pathfinder playstyle. I call Pathfinder the Playmaker, as no other legend gives you the level of control that Pathfinder does. The reason why I love Pathfinder so much is because his abilities can be used to adapt to any situation to make the play that needs to be made. In my opinion, flexibility is probably Pathfinder's most important trait that players need to master. Sometimes you will need to quickly grapple over to your teammate to revive them. Other times you will need to provide support from a location only you can access. Another time you will need to go on a near suicidal flank and sacrifice your gear so your team can push a bad choke. And sometimes you'll just need to clutch the fuck up and do it all at the same time, since the game matched you with an 8-year-old who got pulled off the console by his angry mother. No matter the case, there's always a play that Pathfinder needs to make, and I'm going to do my best to break down each of my favorites. The first strategy that I use revolves around the zipline. This is one that you'll want to coordinate with your teammates, but if you have the skill you can do it solo as well. The basic idea is to insert your team into the best position of an ongoing fight. When you see bullets flying off in the distance, scan the situation from afar to see the best possible position in that fight, then launch your zipline at it. Since the enemy players will be distracted by either looting or fighting their enemies, they probably won't see you, or be in a position to stop you. Since you have the best position on two squads who are pretty weak from fighting each other, your team will make quick work of mopping them up. The best thing about this strategy is that it's extremely effective at obtaining gear for your squad. At the end of the fight, there will be 6 death crates for your team to pick clean of supplies. It's also effective at getting better gear, as you don't need the best weapons to finish off injured targets. Using this strategy, you can easily replace your SMGs and pistols for assault rifles and sniper rifles. My next strategy is all about harassment and support. In order to execute it effectively, you'll probably need to learn how to grapple sling. We've all been in a situation where an entire squad is camping in a building and going inside is a bit too risky. But using Pathfinder, you can attack those enemies from one angle, then quickly use grapple to reposition and attack from another angle that they aren't expecting. You may not be able to kill the entire squad this way, but you'll get some good hits in and draw attention away from your team while they push inside. It's more of a hit and run tactic, and you may not get too many kills doing it, but your teammates certainly will. Next I'll explain what I call the dank flank. This is a pretty risky strategy, but it can really pay off. One of the big problems with Battle Royale games is those drawn-out long-range engagements that just waste health and ammo. I absolutely hate when I down a target at range only for him to move back to his teammate for a revive. But if you're playing Pathfinder, you can down an enemy or two, then throw down a zipline near them and finish off their team while they're reviving. However, if your enemy sees you coming, then it's pretty easy for them to pick you off on your zipline, so you should be careful when attempting this move. But there's no denying that when you pull it off, it makes for some of the most epic squad wipe moments in this game. The next idea that I'll explain isn't really a strategy, but rather a potentially game-saving maneuver that I don't think many players know about. I'm sure that many people have discovered that the grapple can be used to escape bad situations, but what you may not know is that your grapple isn't disengaged if you get downed while using it. This means that even if you know that you will get downed, you can still swing yourself towards a teammate for a revive. So next time you know you're going to die, try swinging back to your team instead of dealing that last little bit of damage. Not going to lie, it can be pretty damn hard to pull this shit off effectively, but I'm not joking when I say that it has saved my team from certain defeat. On the topic of revives, I'm pretty sure that everyone has been in that awkward situation where one of your teammates die but circle is closing in. This means that all their gear will get locked outside of circle, and when you return them to the field later in the match, they will struggle to find decent loot. However, as Pathfinder you can create a zipline between a respawn terminal and your fallen teammates' loot so that as soon as they respawn, they can quickly grab their gear. Honestly, I feel that people don't use the zipline as much as they should since they don't want to waste their ultimate. But the zipline only has like a 60-second cooldown, so don't feel too bad about spamming that shit whenever you feel it's needed. Next, I want to discuss a general tip that you should try to incorporate into your gameplay whenever possible. As Pathfinder, you can use grapple to access high-up locations faster than all of your teammates. While your team may not want to risk being exposed to enemy fire by slowly scrambling up the side of a building, you can take that position in their stead. This can be useful in a variety of ways. One way that I like to use this is by standing on top of a building that I know enemies are hiding in like the little bitches that they are. Then I can listen for their footsteps and call out their locations so that my team can throw one metric fuck ton of explosives where they are camping. When they run out of the building to get away from the blast, I'm in the perfect position to finish them off or call out their locations. Now this is a pretty specific example, but in general I think most people would agree that controlling the high ground allows you to fight battles on your own terms. Of all the legends in the game, Pathfinder is easily the best at securing the high ground, and you should take advantage of this fact whenever possible. Another general tip that I want to briefly mention is in regards to how you should use the grapple. The grapple ability is on a short 11-second cooldown, allowing you to use it very often in engagements. A good Pathfinder should always pay attention to what the situation demands, and use his unparalleled level of mobility to flank, dodge, and assist. When your teammate is being rushed, grapple over to him and pull his ass out of the fire. When you're taking damage, grapple over a building or around a corner. And when your enemies are weak or distracted, sling yourself to one of their sides to punish them for their mistakes. There is no one way to use grapple, and the best way to use it is by integrating it as often into your general gameplay as possible. Yeah, I know, that's pretty obvious to most people. But you wouldn't believe the amount of daft motherfuckers I see running around on the ground and never using their grapple at all. It's honestly said to brutally dominate enemy Pathfinders who don't know how to properly take advantage of their character's abilities. But honestly, it's to be expected since to use the grapple to its fullest potential, you need to learn how to grapple sling. I had the advantage of practicing for the past few years in Titanfall 2, so the transition to Apex Legends was pretty easy for me personally. But stick with it since learning how to use Pathfinder is an immensely rewarding experience. When you do finally learn how to grapple sling, you'll be able to perform another one of my favorite strategies. This one is practically suicidal, but sometimes it's necessary. Inevitably you'll find yourself in that terrible situation where you're caught at a bad choke point with circle forcing you towards an enemy squad. This will almost always result in your death, but as Pathfinder you have one last trick up your sleeve, the self-sacrifice. Essentially what you do is sling yourself a full speed above your enemies, forcing them to focus on you. You will most likely get lit the fuck up, but if you distract your enemies for long enough, your teammates may be able to break through their hold. If you're lucky, your teammates may be able to revive you. But most times I've done this, I got immediately thirsted. But hey, that's fine with me since my team will just shoot them in the back. If I'm being completely honest, your squad will most likely get destroyed regardless. But sometimes this is the only play you can make. And this brings me to my last strategy, which will flat out win you the fucking game when you can use it. You won't be able to do this in every match, as it's somewhat based on luck. This is because this strategy relies on there being a survey beacon near the final circle. In general, I think many people would probably agree that Pathfinder's passive is somewhat weak in comparison to the rest of his abilities. But the later in the match that you use it, the more powerful it becomes. If you get the chance to use this near the end of the game, you can find where the highest possible position is in final circle, then use your zipline to transport your entire team to it. Using this strategy, you will undoubtedly have the best position against the last few remaining squads. Now you probably won't be able to do this every game, but I've literally won every single time I've done this. I would even go as far as to say that even if you need to take damage from the circle to get to the survey beacon, it's probably still worth it if it means pulling this play off. Before I end this video, I want to mention which weapons I think best complement Pathfinder's playstyle and abilities. Pathfinder is kind of odd since he's both a really great flanker and sniper. These two roles have very different weapon requirements, which can lead to some odd, but still really effective loadouts. If you're looking for the safest loadout possible, I would recommend the G7 and R301. It's kinda hard to go wrong with these weapons, as I find them some of the most solid and reliable weapons in the game with ammo that is fairly common. The G7 is great for chip damage on top of cliffs and buildings that only Pathfinder can access, and the R301 is a great general use weapon for most close to medium situations. But personally, I find that these weapons often lack the punch needed in final circle to compete with some of the others, so I stopped using this combo. The next weapon combo I started using consistently was the triple take and peacekeeper. Between both of these guns, you have some serious punch at all ranges. The triple take is an excellent shield stripper, while the peacekeeper is great at finishing targets off. But while both of these weapons are pretty great if you know how to use them, there's kind of an awkward area where both weapons aren't very consistent or reliable. My last weapon combo is by far my favorite, and I've found great success with it. It brings both reliability and damage output to the table to make for a really balanced loadout which can easily compete in the last few circles. The weapons I'm talking about are the Prowler SMG and Longbow DMR. The Prowler SMG is pretty terrible by default since it's a 5-round burst weapon, but I still find it usable. However, when you get a select fire receiver for it, it transforms into an absolute beast of a weapon with full auto capability. In fact, I would probably say that it's the best automatic weapon in the game, aside from maybe a turbocharged devotion. One thing I love about the Prowler is how it can equip the threat optics that can see through Bangalore's smoke, which is actually quite a significant advantage given how popular of a legend she is. But the other part of this loadout is the Longbow DMR. With all of its level 3 attachments, the longbow is one of the most powerful weapons in the game. A single well-placed shot can shift an engagement in your favor. But one of the things I love about the longbow is how easily it can shatter level 3 shields. This pairs very nicely with the Prowler since you can hit an enemy with the longbow, then switch weapons and grapple over to finish them off when they take cover. And one of the more underappreciated elements of this loadout is how both these weapons share the same relatively common ammo type, making it easy to manage your inventory and restock. Only needing one ammo type usually allows me to carry a few more grenades or shield boosters, which can make all the difference in prolonged engagements. But while I think this is the ideal Pathfinder weapon combo, the weapon you use is often dictated by what you can find, not what you want. Anyways, I think I've blabbed on for long enough now, and you guys are probably pretty sick of listening to this text-to-speech robotic motherfucker droning on in your ear. I want to conclude by saying that I think Pathfinder is easily one of the best legends in the game if you have the skill to back him up. After getting good at playing Pathfinder, switching back to another legend feels like you ate 600 pounds of McDonald's in one sitting. While Pathfinder is a lot more demanding, I also feel that he's a lot more rewarding as well. Not to mention you get to soar like an eagle while spraying down a bunch of scrubs that never saw you coming. If that isn't the definition of pure dankness, then I don't know what the fuck is. I hope this video helped you guys learn some nice strats and use Pathfinder to his fullest potential. If you have any other Pathfinder strategies, please share them down in the comments section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the frontier.
You are the Apex Champions.